All right, we're gonna be continuing our Unit D lessons, and today we're gonna be talking more. We've kind of already looked at how to prove triangles congruent. We've proved triangles congruent by angle, side, angle, 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 side, side, angle, side, hypotenuse, leg, side, side, side. And we use the corresponding parts of congruent triangles, the Cpctc, to prove that they're congruent. But we're going to look at Cpctc just a little bit different today. And we're going to be on page 59 in our notebook. So let me share the camera here with you. All right, so here we are on page 59, and we're going to use congruent triangles to prove that other parts are congruent. Okay, so using congruent triangles. Okay, and I want to recall what we've already talked about before. So we're going to recall Cpctc. So recall Cpctc. That means corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, so that means if you have two triangles that are congruent to each other, all of their parts are also congruent. So in the past, we've talked about how you only need 3 parts to prove that a triangle is congruent. And once you have those 3 parts, you can automatically say that the other 3 parts are also congruent. So here we're going to say before you use Cpctc, you must prove triangles congruent. Okay? If you have not made a statement that 2 triangles are congruent, you cannot use Cpctc. Okay, so you have to prove triangles congruent first. Okay, and I've got 2 proofs of this. So proof number 1 here, and I'm going to draw a picture and kind of use a pen. And okay, so given that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 and angle RTQ is congruent to angle RTS, we need to prove that segment QT is congruent to segment ST. And they give us this picture here. I'll put the picture kind of down here. Okay, so Q, T, S, R, and this is 1 and 2. Okay, so we're gonna set up our statement and reasons proof here. So we have statements and reasons. Okay. Our first statement is what is written for the given, always. So angle 1 congruent to angle 2, angle RTQ congruent to angle RTS. That is all given. Okay, and it doesn't look like they've noted that here on the picture, so I'm going to do that now. So 1 and 2 are congruent. And RTQ, now it looks like a right angle, but I don't know that it is. So RTQ, so this angle and RTS are equal. Okay, and I'm trying to prove that QT, this segment and this segment are congruent. Now, before I do that, I could prove that these two triangles need to be congruent. So let's look at some parts of those triangle. And I notice that they both share this side, RT. So we'll say segment RT is congruent to segment RT, and that is reflexive. Okay, and I'll put that there. Now here, we need to make use of angle 1 and 2. And we could go through the trouble of saying that RQT, so this angle and angle 1 are linear pairs, and then that they are supplementary. But if we notice, these angles right here are both supplementary to these angles. They're on the same line. So therefore, that these angles have to be the same. We talked about that in another proof, and that is the congruent supplement angle theorem. So angle RQT is congruent to angle RST. That was the congruent supplement angle theorem. Again, that says if you have two angles supplementary to a congruent angle, then those other two angles are also congruent. Okay, so here we have a side angle angle. Okay, if we look back, or angle side, you can read it either way. If you look back, that will prove that two triangles are congruent. So we can say that triangle RQT is congruent to triangle RST because of angle side. Now that I have proven that these two triangles are congruent, every single part of those triangles is congruent. So now I can say that QT is congruent to ST, and that reason is right here. Cpctc. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, so the hard part here is just proving that your two triangles are congruent. Once you prove they're congruent, everything after that is Cpctc. All the parts are just Cpctc. Okay, let's look here. Whoop. We'll look here at another one. So given, I'll kind of flip-flop here. So given that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, prove that triangle BCE is congruent to triangle DCE. Okay, first here, just by looking at this, you may think we don't need Cpctc, but we can use it to help us prove. And once you see the picture, you'll kind of understand how that's going to work. So in this picture, you see we have multiple triangles. So we have A, B, C, D, and this is E. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, got a pin here. We'll do statements and reasons. Again, just like always, the first statements are what is provided for us. So angle 1 congruent to angle 2, angle 3 congruent to angle 4, that is given. Now, I like to list all my givens first. Some proofs you can list givens at different times. Some people like to write the given when they use it. Okay, so let's mark that here on the picture. So 1 and 2 are the same, and 3 and 4 are the same. Now, you may not see this as easy as me, but here we want BCE, so BCE. We want this triangle down here congruent to this triangle. So I'm just going to kind of highlight that. Okay, that's our goal, is to prove those congruent. But I have angle 2 and 4, and 1 and 3 are a part of this great big triangle here. Okay, and what that is going to do is I can say here that CA and CA are congruent. If I prove that these two big triangles are congruent, then every single part of those triangles are also congruent. Okay, so these big triangles both share CA. And we notice here that these two little triangles share CE. So I'll use that together. Okay, so CA is congruent to segment CA. That is reflexive. Okay, so CA, so this big one here. Okay, now this triangle here is congruent to this triangle here because of angle, side, angle. So we will say that triangle CDA is congruent to triangle CBA, and that is because of angle, side, angle. Now you may be wondering, what does that do for me in this situation? Well, what that does is, now that these two large triangles are congruent, every part of them are congruent. So this side is congruent to this side, and this angle is congruent to this angle, and this side is congruent to this side. Well, this side right here is shared between those two red triangles. So now I know that CD is congruent to CB by Cpctc. That is the only way to prove that those two sides are congruent. Now here I've got this side, this angle. What else can I prove? Well, we said earlier that they share this side right here. So CE is congruent to CE. And those are congruent. Put 3 lines there. I got 2, 3, 1. Those are congruent because of the reflexive property. Okay. So now I can say that these two triangles are congruent because of side angle side. So triangle BCE is congruent to triangle DCE by side angle side. Side angle side. And we're done because that's what I needed to prove. So we can prove big triangles and then break it into little triangles using the Cpctc. Okay, I will put on some practice problems for the Cpctc kind of stuff so you can get used to that. There's one more lesson here, and then you'll have a quiz and you will be ready for the unit test. As always, if you have any questions, please be reaching out, email me, or jump on the live Zoom to get those questions asked. We'll see you in the next lesson.